So it is intimidating, and but for the paper, you might be gratified to know that Dewey English, who is the managing editor of was the managing editor of the Press Register for years, and hired many of the reporters you know or might remember from the paper, is still there, as they now call him a curator, and so Dewey edits everything that goes into the newspaper. So people who say there are no editors, it's pretty much true for online, but not true for the printed product. And I'm sorry, I don't even know why I'm going down that road. I'm just telling y'all random things. But I did. Excuse me. I wanted to tell you real quickly about not long ago a friend of mine who would make a great speaker for this group maybe sometime, Kelly Kasich. She's out of Huntsville, but she writes about weird Alabama. She loves weird things, and she's very entertaining. And she is great about giving me ideas, especially from her part of Alabama. And so her friend is Charles Guigna, the children's book author. He's a poet, and she thought that I think the reason was that he had collaborated with his son, who's an artist, on a book, and she thought it would be a nice time to write about him. And I was like, oh yeah, I looked on my children's bookshelf, and sure enough, from Christmas Jubilee one year, he had been there, and I had an autographed book to my son, and I thought, oh, how neat. So when I contacted him, I sent him a picture of that, and he thought that was awesome. And so, but he was, excuse me, he was traveling or something at the time, and he could not do a phone interview. And he said, could you ask me questions by email? And I was like, I don't like that. You can't get that much of a sense of a person, I don't think, through email. But I was like, sure, we can do that. So I sent him my questions, and he responded within a day, and that just seemed so easy. Like, well, I just posted it, or not. I didn't publish it yet. When I turned it in to my editor, I had it in a Q&A format, and even I was thinking, like, who's going to really want to read this? It's not very interesting. It doesn't seem to really give you any sense of who he is. And so, anyway, she actually did give me some feedback, and she told me, like, I don't like the Q&A format for this. And so, over the weekend, I remember it was a really rainy weekend, and I never did. I've never heard his voice still. But I spent an entire day reading everything I could of his, every interview he had done, watching some on YouTube. There were a few videos of him in giving interviews and things. I should have called that. Anyway, I reworked that story. I sent him several more emails, and we got chattier and less formal, and I emailed his son, which should have been obvious since his son is an artist. Anyway, I rewrote the story, and I was so much happier with it, and my editor was too, and I ended up, I got the nicest note from him, and I do get a lot of nice notes in that, but I did want to read you the one I got from him, and it was so kind. He says, oh my goodness, Michelle, I've been fortunate to have a few good writers write a few nice stories about my work over the years, but yours here, holy moly, your story here completely humbles me and fills my heart with so much love and joy. It reads like a masterful obituary, and I can now die a happy man. I'm your obit writer. He says, seriously, this is a little treasure, at least for me and my family. You not only shared the loves of my life, my wife, my son, my grandchildren, but your love comes through in every word. And I love hearing that, because thank you so much for creating this beautiful picture of our world to share with your readers. My family and I are grateful to you for this gift. And one more thing, and I'll stop talking, but not long ago, I had gotten wind of, for food, I'll do that topic sometimes I'll write about a new restaurant or about a restaurant, but what I'm really supposed to be doing is finding something unique that a restaurant serves, you know, anywhere all over the state. And I've found a few. Of course, I can't think of any to share with you right off the top of my head, except recently I wrote about the turnip fries at Dragonfly here in Fairhope, because I thought, now that is pretty cool. I never thought about making fries out of turnip roots. But I had heard about a biscuit, or I'm sorry, they do have biscuits, but like a breakfast bowl at the Satsuma Chevron. And I was like, ew, I don't really like gas station food, but okay, I'll go there. And so I walked in early, and you know, I called and spoken to Mr. Beasley, who owns the Chevron station. He was nice as could be, and I got there not as early. I mean, he said, you really need to be here about 5 in the morning. That's when you know, that's when people are going to the plants and to work, and they all stop here for breakfast. I was like, I don't think I can make that, but I got there as early as like maybe 8, and it was still pretty crowded, and it was just as clean as could, like the nicest convenience store part of a gas station you could ever hope for. And when you walk in, there's just this counter with all this great food, and they make this thing. He's from Louisiana originally, and they have this, they call it, what do they call it? They call it gumbo, breakfast gumbo. But he was explaining that in Louisiana, it doesn't necessarily mean the gumbo that you think of as gumbo, that any kind of combination of ingredients can be considered gumbo. So it's got grits and bacon and Kaneka sausage, cheese, and eggs, and green onions. I mean, I know. But, and so he was kind, and I stayed there for a while, and I took pictures, and then talked to him all about the gumbo and about his customers, and I watched him interact with people, and he gave me a bowl of that, which I was really happy about that, and it was delicious. And so but I didn't really know what he thought of me. I just wasn't sure. I mean, sometimes I really will bond with the person that I'm interviewing. I wasn't really sure with Mr. Beasley what he thought about me. But when the story came out, he called me, and he was very happy, and he said, I want you to write my autobiography. And I thought that was a huge compliment. And I'm really starting to think now that if I don't ever write my book of fiction, that maybe that's something I'll do. You know, maybe I've had a few other people say that they might, and I'm not sure how interesting Mr. Beasley's story is. We were talking about breakfast gumbo, so I don't know about his story, but I'm sure there's a good one there. But he told me that he felt really comfortable with me, and that to me is just the highest praise.
I have a question.
Yes.
When I asked you to do this program, I was not sure that you were still in Mobile, because you were doing so many stories